Hello and welcome to my talk, Redesign of an Established Open Source CMS. My name is Sascha Eggenberger. I'm a senior UX designer at Unic and I'm one of the lead designers of the Drupal design system. I'm with the Drupal community for almost 9 years now, and you can find me with the handle @SaschaEgge on most social media like Twitter, Drupal, Dribbble and so on. So today I want to talk or give you like a brief history of Drupal, then talk about the redesign of the admin UI of Drupal. Then I have some takeaways for you, and last but not least I can take some of your questions. So let's dive in. Drupal. Drupal is an open source CMS, or sometimes called CMF, content management framework or content management system, which was first released 19 years ago. So it's quite an old-timer, of all the CMSs, but it got a lot of improvements over the years. The last major release is Drupal 9, which was released June last year, so June 2020. The Drupal community counts almost 1.4 million members, from which around 120,000 are active contributors. Compared to that huge number, only a few people consider themselves designer in this community and are active contributors over a longer period of time. So I want to take you just down the memory lane, beginning with the UI of Drupal 7, because I think that's from Drupal 7 on, it's most relevant to what you will see today. So we'll skip Drupal 1 to 6. Here we go. So Drupal 7 was released in January 2011, and it featured a completely new UI. So this was the UI when it was launched in 2011. As you can see, nowadays we would consider it quite uninspirational, but back then it was one of the more modern and nicer admin UIs out there. Then with the introduction of Drupal 8 in November 2015, the admin theme was a bit revised, but basically, as you can see here in the screenshot, the design language was taken over from 7 and was just improved, but there was no big redesign going on between Drupal 7 and 8. And with the introduction of Drupal 9 in June 2020 of last year, as you can see, it's not in fault. Basically, the default admin UI stayed exactly the same as on Drupal 8. It still uses the so-called 7 theme. And yeah, so this is basically where we are today. I want to show you some more screenshots. So what you can see here is the content overview. So when you log in, this is like an editor view. So you have all the notes, all the content in this list. You have some actions above, and let's go to the next screenshot. This is basically the editor experience you get out of the box from Drupal, with some fields like a text field, a WYSIWYG field, and some other fields there, some media, as you can see, and meta information. Another screenshot is this. This is basically the Manage Field UI, where you just have a table with a list of fields which you can edit with the actions, the operations on the right. And last but not least, you can see here, this is basically the configuration overview, where you have like the overview of all the different subsections of the configuration menu, which uses this layout here. So this is the current state of how basically Drupal looks when you just do a fresh install. No matter if it's Drupal 8 or 9, you will get the same experience out of the box, just from a visual point of view, of course. So I think it's fair to say that Drupal didn't have a design refresh in recent years. The focus was heavily under the hood with the switch to Symfony, the PHP framework Symfony. There were some API first approaches implemented, a new template engine called Twig was used. There were a lot of things going on in terms of headless, and but it didn't receive like a refresh in terms of design. So basically the design token stayed the same for quite a long time. This is a quote I found on the internet. The Drupal admin UI looks outdated. You will find similar quotes basically everywhere on the internet. And so there was basically an outcry that Drupal stayed the same and all the under the hood improvements weren't basically acknowledged in the visual terms, right? Because in the visual design language we basically stayed behind the competition, but from a technical point of view Drupal is quite on par with other solutions or superior to other solutions out there. There was an initiative called the Admin UI and JavaScript Modernization Initiative that was basically founded around, I think, 3 years ago, if I remember correctly. And the goal was to basically breathe some fresh air into the Admin UI. This is just as some context information of, for the designs and some design clues we see in the progress now. So the redesign. So let's dive in. The principles of the Drupal design system, as we call it, are those. So in a nutshell, basically, we have precise shapes and strong contrast. We give empathy to what matters. We use hierarchy to explain the relation between elements. We use predictable patterns, and each element should serve a clear purpose. We also want to make, we want to appeal to the greatest possible number of people. And we want to ensure that visual style is extensible and flexible all over the design system. Accessibility is our main concern, and we're heavily accessibility driven. So I would call the design system accessibility first, if you want so. I want to just share one screenshot with you. As you can see, we basically defined a distinguished color for focus. So for each element the user can focus, we have like this green border around it, and this color is not used anywhere else than just for focus. But in terms of accessibility, of course, a lot more takes into account, like spacing and contrast and so on, right? I think I could give an own talk when it comes to accessibility, but we will just keep it short for today. The typography is basically on a modular scale. So we use a modular scale to keep the rhythm across UI texts consistent. This is the scale, as you can see here. As a base font size, we use 1 rem or 16 pixel in most browsers. And for colors, we have very little colors defined. We use this vivid blue absolute zero color for accents and for more important UI elements like primary actions and so on. And the rest of the colors are basically more like gray tones or grayish colors. And the secondary color, the red, green, and yellow, are basically used for messaging, like messages, system messages, and success messages, and so on. You can find more about the design system at this URL. There are also a lot of resources online and other talks which deep dive into the design system. So check that out if you're more interested in the design system part. Claro is basically the first fruit out of the design system. And this is basically what it looks like when everything from the design system comes together. As you can see, compared to the designs of Drupal 7, we use more it has more air to breathe, so we use more spacing, but also like the different elements are more consistent, and you have clear call to actions. This is the content editor form, as you can see here as well, some elements with a WYSIWYG field, some configuration, and this is the configuration overview. So Claro, this is basically the name of this new admin theme. It's included in Drupal core since Drupal 8.8 as an experimental theme. So it's not finished yet, so we flag it as experimental. It's not activated by default, you need to manually activate it. It's planned that Claro gets a stable release with Drupal 9.2, which is out in around mid next year. You will find us at drupal.org/Slack. The two channels, admin UI and admin UI Design, are the ones we use for communication. So feel free to join there. This is just, as I mentioned, the first fruit out of the design system. The next step will be, I want to show you some designs which we call it internally the future UI. So this whole thing started as a customization layer for Claro exactly 1 year ago, and it serves as an ideation for Claro. And this is how it looks like. So this is the login. This is the overview we saw. As you can see, we use a vertical navigation approach. We have the call to actions always sticky at the top right, so we have a sticky portion. It's a clean up UI. We use different layers, like to combine different UI elements which belong together. This is the editor view, so where we edit content as well. It's way cleaner. We have a real sidebar with all the meta information there. We have a sticky save button at the top, and the configuration overview, the reamped media library, and we have a lot of options. You can set whatever accent color you like. You can use your own one. You can use branding, replace the logo with your brand, with your own brand or your client's brand. And we have a lot of other customization options. So it could look like this when we use another accent color, or you could go all in and use the built-in dark mode. Another thing which we really look at is contextual information. So information that appears when you need it and is not in the way in the UI all the time, as you can see in the example. Here we used it for quick actions, for bulk select, which is only needed if you select more than one item. So as just a short example. So major Drupal distributions already use this Chin theme as their default admin UI. It's available for download as a contrib theme at drupal.org/project/Chin. So you can go and download and test drive it today. Feel free to contribute to everything as you saw today, to Chin or Claro. Everything is open and everybody is welcome to contribute to. So the takeaways. We have a heavy focus on accessibility. Claro is on track to get stable with Drupal 9.2, and Chin further improves the overall experience. You will find more, as I mentioned before, in-depth talks about the admin UI online all over the place from different speakers. And I want to mention this because this is the most important one. It's a community effort, so thanks to all contributors. There are a lot of them, and without every single contribution, this wouldn't be possible. Thank you.